They're forcing U.S. soldiers to live with black mold and then silencing them with NDAs. Elizabeth Warren just asked the question the Pentagon didn't want asked, and the room froze.
Warren.
Thank you, Mr. So we've got hundreds of thousands of our troops living in barracks all around the world. And in fact, DoD requires enlisted service members to live in barracks during basic training and initial job training. Required, not optional. But DoD and the services have failed to address health and safety risks in unaccompanied housing, not just for a few years now, it has been for decades. A 2023 GAO report reaching back uncovered terrible conditions, mold-covered ceilings and walls, sewage overflows, bed bugs, rodents, cockroaches. These are problems our troops shouldn't have to live with even for a day. But barracks managers report that it takes, quote, at least several months to fix these problems. So here we are a few years later, and these issues have not gone away. In a 2025 survey, soldiers reported mold, pests, and outdated and poorly maintained barracks. The survey also found it is still the case that, quote, maintenance requests often take weeks or months to address, leading to a frustration among soldiers. Army barracks got a rating of 68 out of 100. For anyone who's keeping score, that gives them a D+. Now, I heard each of you talk about readiness, so let me just ask you, Sergeant Major Weimer, you're the senior enlisted leader for the Army. Does it undermine troop morale and readiness if soldiers report black mold on their ceilings and walls, and they can't get anybody to fix it for months on end?
Ranking Member, thank you. And when work orders do not get addressed at an appropriate time, it does affect morale.
Yeah. And I assume the same is true for rodents, the same is true for sewage overflows. You know, look, we need solutions and we need them quickly, but we also need the right solutions. And this is what's got me really worried. I'm concerned that the services are increasingly looking to privatize the barracks. And we have seen this movie and lived through it already. We've seen what private companies have done with family housing. Poor conditions like black mold, pest infestations, and broken HVAC units. And even when companies offer compensation because they have damaged property or they've created financial burdens because someone had to move their family out, had to stay in a motel for weeks on end, they force military families to sign non-disclosure agreements. Think about that. You do them wrong, right? Treat them badly. And then as part of the hostage taking here, before you will repair it, you insist that they sign a non-disclosure agreement so they can't tell anybody else about what went wrong. At least we know when the government operates the barracks, it does not prohibit the troops from coming to Congress with their concerns, going to their leadership with their concerns. I am very concerned that privatization will decrease oversight and accountability, especially if we don't take action here. So I'm just going to ask a question of all of you. Does anyone here believe that it is appropriate for a housing company to prohibit service members from reporting to their commander or to congressional representatives that a company has failed to remove toxic mold in their room for over 10 months? I'll just take a simple yes or no if you think it's okay to do that. I'll start down at this end.
I think service members should always have the access to their commanders to be able to report problems, ma'am.
Okay, and be able to tell Congress. This is part of what oversight is about, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Just want to make sure we're clear. Sergeant Major?
Ranking Member, that chain of command should be well aware of everything that's going on in that situation that you just declared.
Okay, so you are not in favor of these non-disclosure agreements?
I'm in favor of taking care of the family in that situation, Ranking Member.
Wait, are you wobbling here on me on whether or not those non-disclosure agreements should be permitted?
I don't think a family should be put in a box where they cannot have accountability and be taken care of, Ranking Member. I've lived in houses, I don't quite understand how a family gets put in a corner for a non-disclosure. I have to do some more research on that. But that scenario, that 10-month scenario, there should be a chain of command that knows everything that's going on in that before anybody.
You know, Sergeant Major, I don't understand where you're trying to parse words here. The question is, as part of getting a repair, should any housing operator that's working for the United States government and getting paid by the United States government be able to say to a service member, I'm only doing the repair after you sign an agreement that you won't tell anybody in your chain of command, or you won't tell any Congressional Oversight Committee about what this place was like?
That right there, Ranking Member, they should not be able to do.
Good. We're clear.
Ranking Member, no.
Okay.
No.
Ranking Member Warren, absolutely not.
Good.
No, they should not be forced to do that.
Good. I appreciate this. You know, this may seem like a little side point until it's a family that has been put in a box, as you rightly put it, and they got nowhere to go. Our job is to make sure that our service members are taken care of, and I hear each one of you saying that. But we got to make this work on the ground. And I just start with something as essential as housing, and letting these private housing outfits come in and do a lousy job of keeping the housing operational, and then refuse to repair it unless people promise to be silent, agree to be muzzled on it, is just flat wrong. And I enlist your help in beating that out of our operations at the housing level. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We'll keep working on this.
What you just watched was Elizabeth Warren doing what Congress is supposed to do, protecting people who don't have lobbyists, PR firms, or billion-dollar donors behind them. Hundreds of thousands of enlisted service members are required to live in government barracks, and for decades, those barracks have been plagued by mold, sewage overflows, rodents, bedbugs, and outright neglect. This isn't a rumor. It's been documented by the GAO, confirmed by internal Army surveys, and admitted to in this very hearing. And yet, instead of fixing the problem, the solution being floated is privatization. The same privatization that already failed military families. The same private housing companies that let mold grow on walls while kids got sick, then demanded silence in exchange for repairs. Non-disclosure agreements. Muzzles. Pay-to-fix hush contracts for people who literally serve under orders. Warren wasn't playing word games. She wasn't wobbling. She was forcing clarity. Should any company paid by the U.S. government be allowed to tell a soldier, we'll fix the toxic mold in your room only if you promise not to tell your commander or Congress? That question shouldn't be controversial, and yet the hesitation from senior leadership told us everything. Readiness isn't just weapons systems and budgets. Morale is readiness. Health is readiness. Trust is readiness. When soldiers are living in unsafe conditions and feel like speaking up will get them silenced instead of helped, that is a leadership failure, not at the squad level, but at the top. Our troops are not disposable assets. They are human beings who followed orders and were promised basic dignity in return.